Biliyor musun? Erken rezervasyon başladı. Yazın en renkli fırsatları cyprusparadise.com'da. %40, %50 hatta %60'a varan kaçırılmaz indirimler. Erken rezervasyon yap, uçak bileti fiyatına paket tatili al. Uygun fiyata Kıbrıs tatilinin adresi cyprusparadise.com. Zaman akıp gitmeden acele edin. Bir bakmışsınız yaz gelmiş. Cyprus Paradise. Tatiliniz bizimle güvende.
Kalitenin, güvenin, hızlı teslimatın adresi Ancon Furniture. Ancon Furniture ailesi olarak yeni ürünler ile hizmete devam etmekteyiz. Yeni model koltuk takımlarımız, yatak mekanizmaları bir dokunuş ile açılıp bir dokunuş ile kapanabilmektedir. Bir dokunuş ile açtığımız yatak mekanizmasının yatak çarşafı kullanıma hazır, serili olarak içinden çıkmaktadır. Yıl sonuna kadar herhangi bir koltuk takımı alan her müşterimize akıllı sehpa hediyemizdir. En iyi ürün, en iyi fiyat. Sadece Ancon Furniture'da. Bize uğramadan karar vermeyin. En iyisini biz yapana kadar daha iyisi yok.
Welcome to the latest printed press. I'm Aysen Djemal and it is Bayram, the first day of Bayram today, and we've got a Bayram-Eid Special tonight. We've got a great interview lined up for everybody tonight. But before, I'd like to just say a happy Eid Mubarak to everybody. Bayramınız kutlu olsun. Herkes umarım çok mutludur bugün. Ailelerinden, arkadaşlarından, herkese çok mutlu bayramlar dilerim. Ve we are now going to be interviewing Yiğit Küçük, who is an actor from the Bir Zamanlar Kibris TV show dizi, actually on TRT at the moment. So Yiğit, if he's with us, he's joining all the way from North Cyprus. Welcome Yiğit to my program.
Hello Aysen, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Bayramınız kutlu olsun. Nasılsınız?
İyiyim, teşekkürler. Buradan herkesin bayramını kutlarım. Happy Bayram to London, everyone in London. Teşekkürler, iyiyim. Siz nasılsınız?
Yeah, we're really, really good. Thank you ever so much for agreeing to come on my program on your one day off, because I know that there's no filming today on set. So I'm really, really honoured to have you on my program. So it's great to see you. Honestly, I think London has been awaiting this. It's been shared all over the place and everyone's so looking forward to hearing from you, Yiğit. Honestly, you've got a huge fan base here in the UK. But before we start with the interview, we've also got Huseyin Hashim with us, a very special guest co-host with me tonight. Huseyin Hashim, welcome to my program, The Latest Printed Press. Bayramınız kutlu olsun. Nasılsınız?
Bayramımız kutlu olsun herkese. Yiğit, hoş geldin. Aysen, hope you're having a wonderful bayram. And it's a pleasure to be with you guys tonight.
Yeah, I mean, thank you very much for agreeing to come on and to co-host. I know that you know, you're a beacon in our community and you're very knowledgeable with the history of North Cyprus. And I know that you've been watching this TV series very closely, and Yiğit is also a special friend of yours. So thank you very much for agreeing to come on to the program. So it's been absolutely great, really, that we've been able to do it on Bayram, on the first day of Bayram. How lucky for us. Yeah, it's been great, hasn't it? I mean, because we've been arranging to do this for months, and obviously it's very busy because with the filming, it's actually happening as we speak. So although it's being put on air, they're actually filming at the same time. So I know he has a very, very busy schedule. But before we start, we're talking about the series and the DZ and how you got into acting. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and life growing up?
Sure. First of all, thank you for having me, and hello, Huseyin. Happy Bayram to you as well. I'm Turkish Cypriot. I was born and raised in Nicosia, here in Nicosia. I went to school. I went to English college here in Nicosia, Türk Marif Koleji. After I finished after I graduated high school, I went on to study translation and interpretation at EMU, Eastern Mediterranean University in Famagusta. So I always wanted to study acting, but I didn't have enough support in my teenage years, and I didn't know how. I didn't know a good way to follow to be an actor. So I decided to become an interpreter, so I could develop my language skills, which would help me with my acting career in the future. So that's what I did. I studied translation. Then I went on to further my studies in the UK and in the US. I actually did my master's in Surrey, University of Surrey, in Surrey. Yeah.
That's fantastic. So you came to the UK then. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I spent around a year in the UK. I did my master's there. And after I finished my studies, I came back to Cyprus and I did my military service here, also as an interpreter. But I never gave up on my dream of becoming an actor. I always had it in the back of my mind somewhere. So I had to do it. But, you know, like that, this industry, especially film industry here in Northern Cyprus, is not very developed yet. So I knew that I had to move out. And I found a job in Spain as an interpreter at a video game company. And I moved there. And I started working there as an interpreter and a translator for the video games. And I started taking acting classes, and I joined amateur English-speaking theater group, and that was my first experience with acting there in Spain, in English and in Spanish.
Wow, that sounds amazing, actually. Because I was going to actually ask you how you trained and how you got into your acting career, but you've obviously already stated the fact that, and I think because I've obviously done, I studied drama, and I'm a drama teacher by profession, and I've also been in the acting industry for many, many years. And I think you're right, instinctively, it's something within you, isn't it? And no matter what you tried to do, you always went back to that. And I love that, the fact that you had that passion and you knew that it wasn't quite possible in your teenage years, but you never gave up on it. So once you joined the amateur theatre company in Spain and you did some training, how did your acting career develop from there?
So like I said, I always wanted to do it, but I didn't know if I was talented for it or if I was cut out for it, basically. And I knew that I had to get some training to gain some confidence. And that drama company, that amateur drama company, gave me enough confidence to pursue this dream of mine. So I started taking classes. I went to private institutions and I took some acting classes. I took some stage acting classes and I took on-camera acting classes as well. And it brought some confidence in me, which allowed me to further pursue this career. And I did theater for around 6 years before I had the chance to, get a minor role in a series like this.
Yes, I understand. And I want to ask you about what methods you use, because not a lot of people realize this, but there's lots of methods of acting to get into your role. And I know Huseyin Hashim also wants to ask you about this as well a little bit, about how you got into your specific role. So we're going to delve into that. But before we do, you're obviously playing a part in a dizi, in a TV series. Dizi is TV series in Turkish. That really is rewriting history. Like, it's actually highlighting our Turkish voice. There has been mixed views and reviews of the dizi, of the series, which is very normal. That would happen with any type of series, especially one that actually looks at history. But obviously, this is a series that is really giving our Turkish voice and our take on history for the first time. How has this affected you playing this role, having this responsibility? How do you feel about it?
First of all, I think it's great. I feel proud to be in such a project because we have had some films regarding our history here in Cyprus from our local producers and local filmmakers. But it's the first time that we have such a huge budgeted Turkish series coming to our island to tell our story from our own perspective, which is great because the whole world can watch it from fictional series. Basically, it's historical. It's based on historical facts, but it's also fictional drama. So this is great. So it can access to a wide range of audiences here in Cyprus, in Turkey, and abroad, basically. So I feel really proud because, yeah, we can tell our history with books and with documentaries, but having a drama series is a great way of achieving this because, like I said, kids can watch it. Like many people from many age groups can watch it here in our country and abroad, basically. So I feel very proud to be a part of this, and I feel like I'm doing my best to contribute this in any way.
Yeah, we're very proud of you. Thank you very much for doing everything that you've done. Thank you for being, having that fire in your belly and carrying on and having that belief that you wanted to do acting and actually pursuing it, because that's what a lot of our young people need to see. You know, if you visualize something, if you really truly believe it, even if there are hurdles in this life and hardships, you get there in the end, and it's wonderful. And I really like the point that you made. It is history, and yes, you are showing history, but also it is a TV series, so it's fictional as well, and it's been amalgamated into one. And I think I'd quite like to make that point, because there's been mixed reviews, that it is, I really like the way you explain that. It is a combination, and people need to realize that. But at the end of the day, you're right. How wonderful that we've had an opportunity now to have people playing these parts and bringing these characters to life. I know Huseyin Hashim wants to ask you something specifically about your character. I don't know if we pass it on to him for this moment so he can ask his question, because he's been following the series very, very closely, and he's got something specifically for your character that you play.
Sure.
Yeah. So Yiğit, you play this character called Yorgo, and just for our viewers, you mentioned that you speak, of course, everyone knows you speak English and Turkish and Spanish, but also you speak fluent Greek, I know. Is that correct?
Yeah, I studied some Greek in university, and I took some Greek classes in the Greek part of our island, and yeah, I'm at B2 level right now, but it's a very difficult language. I hope I'm not losing it. Yeah.
Well, you displayed your very good Greek in the first episode. I want to come to the character you're playing. So you're playing this Ayoka terrorist, or a young Ayoka guerrilla, and his name is Yorgos. What's in the mind of the Ayoka terrorist? What's he thinking, and does he enjoy killing? Because we've seen some very dramatic scenes that have made people cry and been quite emotional. It must be very emotional for you to play that role, especially the first episode where you go inside the house and Bloody Christmas begins, and we see the killing of a man and a woman, and then we see the gun facing a child, and then the crying, and then the silence, and then of course the very moving bathroom scene. What's in the mind of the character Yorgo, and how did you feel playing that part?
First of all, I think it was very challenging to take on this role, which I loved to take, because it was like I said, it was a challenge for me, and it's my first series ever, and I had to take on this role. And this character is basically a member of a terrorist organization, as we say it. So in order for me to play my character realistically, I had to get into his mind and try to understand his motives and why he's doing this. So I had to, while I was building up this character on my own before we even start shooting, when I received the script, I had to go and read a lot of material about what happened in our island, about our history, about the Bloody Christmas, and about Ioka, basically, what they were, what their motives were, what they were trying to achieve. I actually listened to their anthems. I tried to find their pictures. I tried to understand as much as I could so I could understand their motives and what they were trying to achieve. So first I did that, and then I had this specific character called Yorgos, which is very different from all of the others, and very different from Nikos Samson as well. And basically, I had to get into his mind, and since he is a terrorist, basically, but he's more than a terrorist. He's willing to do anything to be Nikos Samson's #1 guy, and he's willing to take on any mission just to be that. And he has his nationalistic goals, which is enosis, basically, which is all of them, what they're trying to achieve. And Yorgos has his own ambitions as well. He wants to be the best, and he has this psychopathic tendencies. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to commit these atrocities that he's committing. So this is what I was thinking when I was building up this character, because this can't be a very healthy person, like psychologically. Otherwise, he wouldn't have basically killed innocent women and children, especially armless women and children. So that was basically it. The character started from there, and I explored him on the way.
Yeah, you did. I mean, I like the way you use almost like Stanislavski techniques. I mean, obviously our viewers wouldn't know that, but it's about realism drama and actually thinking about the given circumstances, So you researched the history, you then thought about the psychology of the individual. You almost like came out of it and almost psychoanalyzed the character to be then be able to play it, which is very interesting. But when you actually doing those emotional scenes that Huseyin Hashim was talking about, how did you feel? Was it very overwhelming?
It was very overwhelming. We did two very challenging scenes. One was the baby in the brisket.
In the cod,
in the cod. And while we were shooting that scene, before we started shooting that scene, they were setting up the scene, so they were putting up the lights and all the equipment there, and they brought a real baby for the scene, so we could have the real shoot. And after I saw the baby, I got very, very emotional, because my character requires for me to empathize with this character so I can play it realistically. But I just didn't know how to empathize with a killer, with a psychopath who is about to kill a baby. So I got very emotional. I had to go out and have a walk. I teared up a little bit, and I had to talk to the director for, reassurance. I told him I wasn't sure if I can do this. And he actually showed me a photograph of a documented photograph of actual photos of what happened in our country. So after I saw that, I said, yeah, I'm feeling really bad about this, but I will go on and I will try to portray it as realistically as possible so we can get this story across, because one photo isn't enough to tell the stories of all the sadness and all the tears and everything our people has gone through, basically. So that was basically it. And then we have the bathroom scene, and a few days before we shot the scene, I had to do my own research again about the bathroom massacre. I read a lot of materials. I watched some interviews about the survivors, and when I went there to shoot, I just didn't know how to approach the scene. And I was thinking, because I consider myself a method actor, I was trying to derive from my own emotions so I can find some realism in the scene. Maybe I was thinking, maybe I should think about someone I hate so I can, bring out this hate, but it didn't work because I never hated someone so much that I would point a gun at someone. So it was really crazy for I just went in there and I just played the opposites. That's what we call. I just played the opposites. I play the psychopath who's not afraid to kill, and then who's someone who's very affected but by what he's doing. So I bring them both together, and I just couldn't recognize myself when I watched myself on TV.
It just shows you're a very good actor. But you know what? It's great what the director said. It's a responsibility. For the first time, our story is being told. And yes, there's been mixed reviews, but at the end of the day, our voice is being heard finally. And, some of these realities that you said, it's not enough to have it as a picture, to actually see it on a TV series makes people see it for what it is. And I think, it's very commendable that you've done it. And it's true, I suppose, you can put all your emotions into a role and then completely take it away to be able to do it. So you sort of injected all your emotions and then had to remove it to be able to go in and do that emotionless, like you said, psychopath role, to be able to, do it realistically. And obviously, I think, from the reaction, from the amount of viewers that we've had with this series, obviously you've done a very good job, and you've done a good service because our story is being told. But generally, coming from your background now, you said that you traveled, you've come to the UK, you went to Spain, you talk about method acting, and, what are the barriers, do you think, that you've had trying to get into this industry as an actor? And what do you think the support is? As a Turkish Cypriot, how has this molded you into your profession?
I think, like I said before, we don't film industry and in general acting and theater. We don't have this sector developed here in our country, in Northern Cyprus. So every time someone mentions that they want to be an actor or a singer or a painter, everyone is telling them, "Oh, you should get another profession because you're not going to make money out of this." So that was actually my demotivation when I was a teenager. So every time I brought this acting dream of mine to words, everyone would tell me that I should choose another profession and do acting as a hobby, and I would never have it as a profession because I would never make a living out of it. And I think that's the main thing here. I think that's the main barrier, because we just tell kids not to dream, basically. We just tell our kids not to dream, basically. And once we become famous, or once we get some recognition internationally or in Turkey or maybe in England, I think we should do something for our community and come back and help those who are trying to achieve the same goal. And I think we kind of lack that at the moment. Maybe I bet there are people who are doing it on a constant basis, who are trying to give a helping hand and try to guide the youth in the right way. But I think we're not doing it enough. I think that's the main barrier. But then we see some successful people, I don't know, internationally or in Turkey. We have some really successful Turkish Cypriot actors in Turkey. And that gives you hope, and then you feel like, if they can do it, I can do it too. So maybe with this series, or maybe in my future career, maybe I will give hope to younger people as well, so they will know that they can do it too. Because we have really talented people out here, and they're being forced to take on other professions which they're not cut out for. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's not just even in North Cyprus, it's a situation in the UK as well. The arts are always sidelined within education and even within schools. And we need the arts, you know, because even in our lockdown, and we're going to talk about COVID in a moment, we've seen the fact that people have still carried on reading, people have still carried on watching television and having these programs, people have still painted, people have still drawn, people have done all these artistic things, you know, written things. I know a lot of artists that have actually gone back to the drawing board and written books or written songs. And, you know, having arts is important. And like you said, not everybody is cut out to do a typical job that may be within our culture will be more acceptable. So yes, I think that's a great idea to encourage our young to get more into the arts. I think that's very, very important. And what ties in is something that Huseyin Hashim is going to ask you now about the reaction in Cyprus. Huseyin, if you want to ask your question here, I think it's quite appropriate to
before I ask that question, going back to the scene of the bathroom. Now, previously, we've had some amateur films made, and I think we've spoken about this in private. And I remember watching this amateur film, the bathroom scene. But now this scene we have from you, which is now on YouTube, and whenever you look up the bathroom massacre, you see this very dramatic version compared to the amateur version that was done. And it was very emotional. I remember trying to watch it for the first time with people around me, and I actually had to excuse myself and go upstairs and watch it later on by myself, because it was so, both scenes, the first scene and the second scene, were so emotional. So before I ask the question about the reaction of people watching that, do you like playing a villain in films? Is that something you like, something you enjoy?
Well, every time I watch movies, I always root for the villain. That's one of my things. I really like actors who can play villains, and it brings, because they're interesting. They're also human. Like most villains are, like, they're human, and I want to understand that. I want to explore that as an actor. The good guy, I feel like, being a good guy can be difficult, but playing a villain, you have to really go to a dark place in yourself to bring that out. And I find that really interesting at the moment, in the beginning of my career. Maybe in the future that will change, but for the moment, I'm really interested in playing the villains, because I want to explore that part of humanity that is very dark and which is very real. But when it comes to Yorgos, I always dreamed, like I said, to play a villain, but Yorgos is more than a villain, which I'm not. I don't enjoy playing him very much, because he's more than a villain. It's not fun to play Yorgos, because it's based on real events, and I'm rooting for his demise. Basically, I don't want him to, go on forever.
So this leads me to my next question. So in my younger days, I had a chance to meet Erol Taş, and I'm sure you remember Erol Taş from the Turkish film industry, and he 90% played the villain in films. And there was something he told me when I was very young, that in the early days, whenever he used to go out, he would be sworn out, and people shouted at him, and kids would run with throwing stones at him. What's the reaction been with people in the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus towards you when they see you now?
Well, the people who know me, they're kind of surprised. They're impressed and they're surprised, because like I said, I've done mostly theater. So people either watched me on stage or they haven't. So when they saw me on the screen and they saw this psychopathic character killing kids and babies, people are kind of shocked. And actually, I watched that episode with my mother sitting right next to me, and she was in shock. And she was very shocked. But people are impressed, and they're praising me for it. They're praising me not for the character, but for the acting, which I really like, and which I'm really glad for. But when people I don't know, when they see me on the screen and they recognize me, they look at me with disdain in the beginning. But then they come up to me and they congratulate me on, having this portraying this character in a realistic way, and they tell me that, oh, you're nothing like your character. You actually smile. You're not that bad. You're not but yeah, Mostly positive.
It's great how people, get so involved with the characters, isn't it? But that's what's wonderful about watching a TV series. They become engrossed and they forget that there is an actor behind it. So it's great when you tell these stories. It's quite fun to hear how the reactions have been different. But obviously, in the end, I think they realise that you are actually Yiğit, the actor. The kind, friendly person, not obviously this psychopath that you're playing. But I hear you when you say that it's more of a challenge to play the villain, because you have to work at it more. There's more investigation, there's more development of the character. You have to think more about the psychology, the why did he do this or why did he do that. So yeah, definitely. We've got so many comments coming in. I've got more questions. Huseyin Hashim has got more questions. But if we just go on to our audiences just for a little bit, because we've got lots and lots of comments. Mehdi Ismet, all the way from Cyprus, also is saying, looking forward to this show. Hello to everyone. Happy Bayram to Hoca, my cousin, Aysen and Yiğit. Bir Zamanlar Peckham boy. He was a priest. He's talking about himself. Hazırız, but lovely. İyi bayramlar, güzel, özel canlar. Allah, eyvallah, love you. Evray, I think that's to you. And Mehdi Ismet was you in the Turkish military? Yes, we're very impressed, by the way, with your military outfit. I liked that. That was very, very impressive. I think all the ladies would have liked that. You standing in your military outfit with the tank behind you. I tell you, that's first class. Definitely. I think the ladies would like that. Hazır has put, siz de bayramınız kutlu, mutlu, huzurlu olsun. Kardeşim. Semra Abla, merhaba. Emine Osman has put, lovely to see a member of our community doing so well in the arts. İyi bayramlar to you all. Most definitely. It's amazing. Somebody in our community. Fatima Mehmet has put, Eid Mubarak, everybody. We've also got we've got lots of comments, but something that's caught my eye, because we've got so many comments, I may not be able to get through all of them. Gulnil has put a question for you, Yiğit. We are so happy to have our history told. However, some people have said history has not been told correctly, and also that it's been turned into a love story. What does Yiğit think about this? We discussed this backstage and I really liked your answer. So if you could give an answer to that question from our audience.
Yeah, like I said, this is at the end of the day, this is a drama series. It's called drama. It's based on true historical events, but then we have fiction. It's a fictional story as well. So we can't, I know it's a sensitive topic, so people can get very emotional when the events we know can be a little bit different from our history books. But then it's a TV show. It's at the end of the day, it's entertainment. So we have to make it interesting. So that's why we have a love story and all the other themes going on in the series. So if we look at it from the perspective of a drama series, I think it should be acceptable. I would say.
I totally agree with this, because if you look at any of the productions that portray historical events like Abdülhamid or Muhteşem Yüzyılı, it's history, but there's drama in it as well, because if it's all history, people get bored, and when there's a love affair, or it's for different reasons, but it's a good film and it will become international. I already know lots of people actually outside of Turkey who are watching Bir Zamanlar Kibris.
Yeah, I mean, we've got one other comment that I'm going to have to read out, and we can make our comments. Yeah, Hatice has put, Gül, I have no issues with the unrequited love story, even if it's very unlikely. My issue is how our first community leader, Dr. Küçük, and founder President Rauf Denktaş are being shown in the serial, as well as that the TMT is not being shown as a strong force they really are. One other thing is that certain events which involve real people did not actually happen. Would you be able to make a comment about that, Yiğit? I know, obviously, you are an actor in the series, so as much as you can, just so that we can say that we've answered our audience members.
Sure, but our leaders, I think it's really difficult for actors to take on these roles, because these are real life people, and they're very important in our communities. They are basically our leaders. So it's a very big responsibility, because my character Yorgos is a fictional character, and I don't have that kind of responsibility while I'm playing. But Rauf Raif Denktaş and Dr. Küçük, they are leaders. So when the actors took on these roles, I think they're trying their best to portray these characters as close as possible to the reality, but still they have to be loyal to the scenario, so they have to be loyal to the script. So I think it all depends on the script. And I think in the beginning of the series, their characters have an arc, so maybe they start in maybe, I wouldn't say weak, but maybe I would say that they would start in a way that they're not as powerful as they would be in the end, which we know that they are, because they saved our community and they saved our country. And I think that's what they're doing, but I can't really comment on how they're being portrayed. I think it could also be the interpretation of the actor as well, because it's a lot of that goes into that also.
Of course. I think that's a very reasonable answer. And you're right, you know, these people are extremely important for us, extremely in our history, and we are very, very proud of it, because that's why we're here. So obviously there is a huge responsibility, but obviously these are actors playing a role, so we must remember that too. So I mean, it's very as you can see, you've got a great responsibility being part of a series like this, and as well as it being responsibility, it's also quite empowering, and you're inspiring people. Can you tell us about that? If you were to advise any young person, any man or woman, to feel empowered and to boost their confidence, what would you say to them now in the position that you are? Because obviously, like you said, it took a long while, quite a long journey for you to get to the point that you're at, where you are in a very well-known TV series, doing the job that you love, and taking on a great responsibility, obviously retelling a story that hasn't been properly told before. We're actually able to use our Turkish voice. Yes, there's been differing viewpoints, but I think it's been great that we've been able to do this. What advice would you give to our young people out there to raise their confidence and to make them feel empowered?
Don't listen to your parents.
I love it.
No, I'm kidding. Just step out of your comfort zone and follow your heart. It sounds cliche, but it is real. I had this dream of becoming an actor since I was maybe 14, 15, and everyone around me, almost everyone around me, tried to discourage me from that. And that, like I said, it was always in the back of my mind somewhere. I studied something else. I got another profession. I did my undergraduate. I did my graduate. I had my undergraduate degree, but it was still there. So if I didn't pursue it, if I didn't step out my comfort zone and take a risk, I would never have had this opportunity of becoming an actor. So if you feel like you have to do something, if you feel like you have to go for arts or for mathematics or whatever that is, law, just go for it. Of course, take the advice of your parents, but this is your life and you're going to have to live with that, and you have to make yourself happy. And if you have a job, if you have a profession that doesn't make you happy, you'll never be really happy, because you'll be counting hours until the shift is over so you can go home. But if you do what you love, then you're happy. And I think it's all about being happy, and just take risks and try out whatever you feel like you're meant to do.
Yeah, it's like calling in life, isn't it? Whatever you feel in the depths of your heart or your gut feeling, I think you've got to go with that. And it's great to hear it from you, but I think it's important for our youngsters to hear it from somebody like yourself, because you give people confidence, obviously, from the place that you are, now that you are successful. Like you said, it provides confidence for others that, yes, they can also be successful. I mean, you touched upon a very important factor. You said, you know, I've looked at other Turkish Cypriots and they're doing really, really well in Turkey. And we did talk about the accent thing, didn't we, just before the program? And I feel like I can't past this point without mentioning this, because I thought what you gave me as an answer really sort of turned my thinking around. Because I must admit, when I first started watching the series, I was taken aback by the fact that it was the mainland Turkish accent that was being used. But obviously you sort of put a slant on that and you said something to me. If you could say that to our audience members, and I think it also sort of relates to the fact that you've said there are Turkish Cypriots in Turkey who are actors who've been successful. I think that will give us hope, what you said to me before the program about that.
Yeah, I think a lot. We received some criticism regarding the Turkish Cypriot accent not being very present in the series, and I think that's a technical issue, because this series is meant for basically for abroad, for foreign countries, and basically for Turkey, because we know our history already. We know these events, and it's meant for people who don't know, basically. And it's meant for, there is a target audience, and that target audience is mainly Turkey and foreign countries. So it would be, I think, technically more, it would be more feasible to have the mainland Turkish accent in the series, so everyone would understand easily, because we have our own dialect here in Cyprus, Turkish Cypriot, and we have our, you know, very specific words. We have our very specific phrases and sayings, and sometimes people from, you know, Morfu, Güzel Yurt, yeah, or Morfo, Güzel Yurt, they sometimes say something, and here in Nicosia we don't understand it. Or sometimes people in Famagusta, they say something, a word or a phrase, and then we don't understand here in Nicosia. So I think they made that choice, regard the filmmakers and maybe the producer or the director, they made that choice regarding the technical aspect of it. That's why they use the Turkish mainland Turkish accent in the series, which would be very difficult for the Turkish actors to learn. Also, it would take maybe up to a year to even, you know, to have a very basic understanding of the accent. So I think that's a very technical issue, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what's hopeful, though, is the fact that there are Turkish Cypriot actors in Turkey and we are becoming successful. So I think it's not that our identity isn't going to be heard. And maybe in the future, we may be able to have series where we can use a bit more of our dialect. But obviously, I really commend the way you explained that. And I thought it really made sense. I can't pass by without mentioning COVID. Obviously, it's ruled our lives for the past 2 years. How has that impacted the industry in your eyes? Obviously, you're one of the few people who's been able to work during this period on set. How has the experience changed? Like, what restrictions were they on set? What was the experience like for you?
So in general, COVID ruined many things here, everywhere around the world, especially in this industry, filmmaking and theater. And I was in a theater group here, and we had our shows, which were all canceled because of COVID, because we couldn't have any live audience, basically. But then we had this series coming from Turkey, and they had to go into quarantine all the crew had to go to quarantine for 2 weeks before we even started shooting. And then while we were on the set, all the necessary measures were taken, and we were trying to do our best to, you know, sanitize our hands and keep our distance. But at the end of the day, we're filming, and when we're filming, we have to take our masks out and we have to come close to each other. And I remember like putting my mask on and taking it off, filming and putting it back on between the takes, and I was putting it in my pocket, my mask, and it has been difficult. It could have been much easier, but I'm glad that at least we had some work and we had this series going on, and we didn't have any outbreaks on the set. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, that's really, really good. We've got so many comments coming in, and I've been told by the studio that I have to read more comments. But before we do that, Huseyin Hashim, you want to ask some more questions if you'd like to. I think about the future, what Yiğit's thinking about his future.
There's and lots and lots of comments. I just want to say, because I'm with the community every day of the week and organize lots of community events, and I'm seeing like hundreds of Turkish Cypriots every day. And you know, the dizi is one of the main things that people talk about today because it's very exciting. Turkish Cypriots feel very close to this dizi. Yes, there's lots of criticism about the accent. I think we spoke about this before going on air, and you gave a fantastic example using the epic Muhteşem Yüzyılı, which was portraying the historical events of the life of Sultan Süleyman, and you clearly said that it was done in modern Turkish. If it was done in the Ottoman dialect, none of us would understand it, and I totally agree. The other thing I was going to say to you, which wasn't a part of my question, now this working on the set, most of the set is actually outside. It's not in the studio.
Exactly. That really helped because most of the shoot was outdoors, so it was actually open air. So, yeah.
And I think
really
just you know, like for as a viewer watching the movie, and you're actually on the set. And I did say this to you once. I'd love to be on the set, just watching, because it's so real. It's when you're filming in these old parts of Marash and the closed and you can see that kind of war-torn buildings. It really does make it so real. It brings that kind of emotion, and you actually feel that you're being sucked into 1963, 1964, and you're doing a great job. Lots of fans in the UK. My question to you, Yiğit, is where does Yiğit Küçük go after this dizi? Where do we see you? What's your future?
Hopefully, I'm planning to move to Istanbul for at least a while because I'd like to work on my Istanbul dialect so I can get on more roles. And my first step would be Istanbul, and I would definitely work on my accent there and try to get another job maybe. And we'll see. Maybe I would even go to Los Angeles for further training because it can't. Yeah.
Can I ask one more question, and that'd be fine for me, and then Aysen.
Yes, I've got to read.
What's your relationship with the other actors? Because I see this you share some fantastic photos on Instagram, and you've got lots of Instagram fans from the UK. What's the relationship? Because you look really close all together. Look like you're working really well. Is it as close as it looks in the photos?
It is. In the beginning, I was very shy. I'm very shy in general, but in the beginning, I was very shy because these are like really famous actors and they're really good actors. For example, Pelin Karahan, I was such a huge fan when she started out and she was in Kavak Yelleri, and I was such a huge fan. And then I never thought one day we would be on the same set in the same project, and I would be like pulling her from her arm and dragging her across the set. So, mistreating her in such a way. But then they got very friendly and they're really helpful. For example, Tayanch Ayaydın, who plays Nikos Samson, we became really close friends, and he's helped me a lot in the technical aspects of the filmmaking regarding how because it's not just acting. You have to watch where the light comes out. You have to step out of your shadow, and you have to hit your mark. And he's been really helpful, and I think I feel really lucky to be working with these great actors, and I feel grateful.
100%. And I have to say this as well, that all the actors that are playing in this role in this series, they actually look so much like the real characters, like Makarios, Grivas, and especially Nikos Samson. His face, his emotions, he looks like, because I've studied so much of old films of Nikos Samson speaking, and It's remarkable. You're working with fantastic actors. I just want to say one thing, as Huseyin Hashim, that you said you're playing a minor role, but you've played some of the most intense scenes, and we don't see you as a minor actor. We see you as a major actor in this series.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, there's so many comments coming in. I'm going to start reading some of them. Inji Durmuşis, but I really love this, Dizzy. Thank you for airing. Well done to all the actors and actresses. Halil Ibrahim Shefket has put, for you to show this emotion shows that you are human. You are playing the character. So well to draw the emotion from the viewers. You know, lots of things. Serpil Gül Davulcular has put, I'm going to try and read this in Turkish now. Okay, here we go. İyi yayınlar Hüseyin Hoca ve Ayşen. Programımız çok güzel. Yiğit Küçük kardeşimize başarılar dileriz. Bir Zamanlar Kıbrıs dizisi çok güzel bir dizi. İlk kez Kıbrıslı Türk'ünün yansıtan bir dizi yayınlandı. Bu diziyi hiç kaçırmıyoruz. Başarılarınızı devamını dilerim. And she wrote more. I think I did really well, by the way, reading that in Turkish. Brownie points for me. Woohoo! I need to join you in Istanbul. I need elocution and reading lessons in Turkish. Right, Kıbrıslı gençlerimizi Türkiye'de yayınlanan dizilerde görmek gururcu bir şey. Türkiye'de fazla Kıbrıslı Türk oyuncularımız yok. Osman Alkaş var ve Hazar Ergüçlü var. İnşallah Kıbrıslı Türk oyuncularımızı daha fazla ekran başında görürüz. Başarılar dilerim. So basically, all support for you, Yiğit, to go to Istanbul.
O başarılı olan Yiğit olur artık, yani Kıbrıslı olarak.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even more comments. Everybody's saying, hayırlı bayramlar, iyi yayınlar. Hatice Hanım has put, the series isn't on this week. Is it because of Bayram?
Yeah.
Answer that?
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, everyone's been asking that question. Yeah, we have to wait until next week.
Can I just say, while we're on the show, that we give our deepest condolences to Hatice for losing her mum this week as well. Hatice Keremgil.
Condolences.
Definitely. Serpil has also written in English as well. Thank you, Serpil, for writing in English this time. The actors in the dizi are trying. It is hard to perfect a Cypriot accent, but the actors who play Dervish and Denktash are really trying to use Cypriot keywords and our accent. Hats off to the director and the crew. So people are very happy, really. I think there is far more positive comments, and I think people understand, like you said, the technicalities of actually, you know, as well as putting it into history and reliving our history, that we also make it entertaining. Yiğit, is there any lasting messages you'd like to give our audiences? It's been an absolutely amazing program. Thank you very much for taking time out of your Bayram celebrations to come on. It's been a great honor and inspiration. And thank you very much for Huseyin Hashim coming on with his incredible knowledge, and obviously the fact that he's been watching the series and with all the previous knowledge that he has for history, and the fact that he is such a community leader within the UK. It's been great to have his viewpoint as well. Yiğit, is there any lasting messages you'd like to give our audiences out there?
It's been my pleasure to be on this show. Thank you for having me, and happy Bayram to you all over again. And it's really great that we're Turkish Cypriots, and wherever we are all around the world, we still have that sense of community. And I think it's really important to keep that alive wherever we go. And I really appreciate you guys doing that. And I think that's great. We have a lovely country, and we have a very lovely people, and wherever we go, it doesn't matter where we live, but we should be connected, and we should support each other. And I'm really happy about that. So yeah.
100%, I agree with you. We are very connected and committed as a community. And I think maybe it's because we're quite a small community compared to the rest of the world. But, you know, it's very precious. And I agree that we need to stay connected and, you know, hear our success stories. The very best of luck, Yiğit, in your future. I'm sure we will once again interview you in the future in Istanbul with your next project. But in the meantime, thank you very much for coming on the program. Thank you very much, Huseyin Hashim, as well, for coming on the program. That's it from us. From the Latest Printed Press, I'm Aysen Djemal. Have a very good evening. Thank you very much for all our audiences and all the comments. Happy Bayram once again, and have a lovely, lovely evening. Thank you. Goodbye.
Biliyor musun? Erken rezervasyon başladı. Yazın en renkli fırsatları cyprusparadise.com'da. %40, %50 hatta %60'a varan kaçırılmaz indirimler. Erken rezervasyon yap, uçak bileti fiyatına paket tatili al. Uygun fiyata Kıbrıs tatilinin adresi cyprusparadise.com. Zaman akıp gitmeden acele edin. Bir bakmışsınız yaz gelmiş. Cyprus Paradise. Tatiliniz bizimle güvende.
Kalitenin, güvenin, hızlı teslimatın adresi Ancon Furniture. Ancon Furniture ailesi olarak yeni ürünler ile hizmete devam etmekteyiz. Yeni model koltuk takımlarımız, yatak mekanizmaları bir dokunuş ile açılıp bir dokunuş ile kapanabilmektedir. Bir dokunuş ile açtığımız yatak mekanizmasının yatak çarşafı kullanıma hazır, serili olarak içinden çıkmaktadır. Yıl sonuna kadar herhangi bir koltuk takımı alan her müşterimize akıllı sehpa hediyemizdir. En iyi ürün, en iyi fiyat. Sadece Ancon Furniture'da. Bize uğramadan karar vermeyin. En iyisini biz yapana kadar daha iyisi yok.